Okay, hey, crafters, crocheters, knitters, and yarn enthusiasts. Hopefully I'm not crooked. You're sitting on my bed. Alright, so we're upstairs in my room today because I wanted to lay the blanket out and make sure that size-wise that I'm about where I'm supposed to be. Hi, today's Monday, September 13th, 2022. My name is Jenny. Welcome to Granny Square Peg. When I had made this pattern back in 2017, I had crocheted a blanket with it, right? And I actually still have that blanket today. I don't use it for anything. I had planned on selling it, but it just kind of, if you guys have watched my other videos, you know I call it my pile of shame between my projects and my yarn. A year later in 2018, I made the pattern again with Caron cakes because I wanted to test out my own pattern. So it was 2018 and I made it just a little bit smaller. So instead of chaining 170, I chained 150. And instead of using 7 cakes of yarn, I used 5. So blanket number 2 is sitting here. So blanket number 3 with this pattern, with the Caron cakes, is what we're doing for our crochet along. And I wanted to lay it out and see how it fits left and right for its width, and then how tall it is to see if it's going to be roughly the same size as everything else. And I also dug out my tape measure so I can measure it and show you guys the measurements on it. And there's a blanket underneath of all of them that's on my bed. It's my temperature blanket that I made years ago, and once we put it on the bed, we have not taken it off. So if you guys have any questions about the temperature blanket, by all means ask, but I will do a video on it at some point in the future. I'm the Caron cakes, you know, because not only the blankets that I created, that I made with the pattern specifically for Caron cakes, when I had leftovers, because that's the other part of this video, is leftovers and what I'm doing with them. We'll tell you what, we're going to do sizing with the tape measure first, and then I'm going to talk to you guys about the leftovers from the Caron cakes, because you know, you've seen me pull the cakes apart. I'm not using the whole cake, I'm just using some of it. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing with the leftovers. Alright, so let's take a look at blanket number 1 and how wide it is. Okay, so here is, I'm going to give you an overview. Here is blanket number 1 that I made in 2017. Blanket number 2 I made in 2018. And blanket number 3, which is for our current crochet along. Okay? So I have this tape measure here. I've got it just... Oh, this is hard with one hand on a camera. Alright, so we can see that blanket number 1 is roughly 52 inches wide. So, what, 4 feet, 4 inches? Yeah, because that's the 4 feet. 52 inches wide. So this is the my initial pattern with a chain of 170 plus 2 for the turning chain, okay? So, 52 inches. Ah, isn't she beautiful? Alright, so let's move the tape measure up to blanket number 2, where I did a chain of 150 because I wanted to make it more baby size. Which is funny because the sizing isn't actually too big of a difference. Alright, so here is blanket number 2. Right? And look at that. Comes in at 46.5 inches. So 6 inches shorter than the first one. Alright, so blanket number 3 turns out is going to be the biggest of them all. My tension has probably loosened up over the years, especially since I had damaged my rotator cuff, and yeah, I think my woo, yeah. Alright, ready? So funny thing is, I used the same yarn. It's all Caron cakes. It's all number 4 medium worsted weight or Aran weight, depending on what part of the world you're in. I used an H or a 5mm hook. So here's blanket number 3. And she's coming in bigger than all the others at 54.5 inches. So, 52 inches on my first blanket. What did I say on this one? 46 inches on this blanket, on blanket number 2. And 54.5 on blanket number 3. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unfold them and stretch them out across the bed and see how tall they are. That's going to be a little bit awkward, but I'm going to do what I can. I'll come back to you guys in a minute, okay? Alright, so here's blanket number 2. That's where it ends. That is fruit cobbler, strawberry truffle, pistachio. I think that was called blueberry cheesecake, I think. And then rainbow sherbet. Alright, so we've got 51 inches tall for blanket number 2. So it's 46 inches by 51 inches. Say hello to Baby Bandit. Okay, blanket number 1, which was my first blanket with the Caron cakes. That is blueberry muffin up there, which is completely different than the blueberry muffin I'm using today. Those purples are bumbleberry. Those greens, it was called lemon lime. The oranges were pumpkin spice. The grays and purples was some kind of lavender. And then rainbow sprinkles, I think. It's been a long time. Alright, so how wide did I say this one was? Oh, I don't know. I'll have to catch it in the edits. But she is 56 inches tall. Isn't she gorgeous? Alright, now I'm going to take the tape measure off. Because this first original blanket that I made, I did it with 7 cakes of yarn. And I pulled them apart and only used part of them. That's how I wound up with leftovers. And I want to see if I'm even close this time around on what I did the first time around. Or if I'm going to be a little short. Okay, so far that's 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, I'm going to wind up being a little short. Oh, because this is cherry chip. This is rainbow sprinkles and this is cherry chip. I don't know. I didn't bring my notes up with me. Okay. So there we go. Blanket number 3 compared to blanket number 1. We still got a little bit of ways to go. And blanket number 2. And of course my temperature blanket. All my leftovers. Here's the thing with the Caron cakes. Now, don't get me wrong. I love them. I love the blend of the yarn. That it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. I love the colors that they came up with. If they sold these as just single solid colors, I would buy them all the time because it's absolutely beautiful. But when you roll it up into a cake like this, your yardage and the meters for each color, they're not the same. They're not even. So like this gray right here, even though it repeats here, this one could be less yardage than this one. Do you know what I'm saying? And definitely with this lighter shade of gray, while it's on the outside of the cake, this will be less yards and less meters than this one in the middle of the cake. So when you're crocheting with it, you'll get a big chunky block of color depending on your pattern, where you can get 4, 5, 6 rows of color. And then when you get to the outside of the cake where there's less yards, you wind up with maybe only 2 or 3 rows of color. And then it creates wide stripes and then skinny stripes, and it doesn't always look right. Sometimes it in a blanket it will look off balance. So the whole thing is, when I did this the first time around, I used the center of the cakes on my first blanket. Those 7 or 8 colors that I used just the center of the cake. This way I can get the largest color block I could, so the blanket would be more pleasing to look at with color blocks that were so similar in size, instead of having them wide and then skinny and then wide and skinny. I really didn't like that look. So that's why I had so many leftovers, because I would use the first 4 or 5 colors in the middle of the cake, and I wouldn't use these outside colors. Or sometimes you'll get in there, like this one. Let me show you. It looks like it starts on that medium shade of gray, but when you really get in there, and I'm hoping you can see with the light, it doesn't actually start on this medium shade. It starts on this darkest shade of gray. But when you pull all that out, it's only going to be a little bit, and it won't get you any rows, it won't get you any stripes, it won't get you any color blocks, because it's just the beginning and there's not a lot there. So even with the cakes that I was using all those years ago, sometimes I was pulling out the dead center, the middle, and I would just snip it because it wasn't big enough for me to even get through the chain and the first row. So that I had so many leftovers from, I just wind them up into balls, you know, and I had so many that they just sat around until about January of this year, and I got them all together in one spot, and I started putting them together in a blanket. That's what I did with the leftovers. I like working with leftovers. I like it being random, and the leftover blanket that I'm working on, I think is absolutely beautiful. I think it's even better than my Caron Cakes blanket pattern that I'm doing. I absolutely love it. So would you guys like to see my leftover blanket? Because I also, when I did have some more Caron Cakes, they were pastel colors. I took the cakes and I fruit cobbler. Oh, I can't remember what the other colors were. I had 4 cakes that were in these lighter pastel shades, and I actually took the whole cake and I cut all the colors separately. So I'd get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'd get anywhere from 7, 8, 9 colors, little balls of yarn out of one cake. And what I did was I put them in a blanket, but I also mixed it with Red Heart Super Saver. They're soft white. I would do 3 or 4 rows of the soft white, and then 2 or 3 rows of whatever color from the Caron Cakes that I wanted, then 3 rows of the soft white. So I made 2 more blankets that way, and they're in my pile of shame downstairs, and I was looking for them before I started the video, but I can't find them. They're down there somewhere. They're just probably in a bin on the bottom of all the other bins. But by the time we are done with this crochet along, I'm going to have everything that I made with Caron Cakes out together. And I'm going to show them all to you, from my first blanket, my second blanket, the third blanket, which is our crochet along, the fourth blanket, which is the leftovers, the fifth and sixth blanket, which are baby blankets that are mixed with Red Heart Super Saver. So that's a lot of talking. Let me go get a drink of water, and then I'll show you my leftovers, okay? Okay, so this is my current pile for the crochet along that we're doing, okay? And my hook and the ball bands, okay? These are the leftovers from the crochet along. These in the bag are from blankets number 5 and 6 that I made. And this is leftover Caron Cakes. This is leftover Caron Cakes. These are my favorite colors, these creams that they made. And how sometimes the yarn, because of the way they dye it, has got speckles in it. So these are my leftovers that I've been working from. Just leave them all there. To make this blanket right here. This blanket is just all single crochet. And it is made with every single leftover from my Caron cakes. From blanket number 1, blanket number 2, and then my 2 baby blankets that I can't find. And then I'm going to add these leftovers here from our Crochet Along. I'm going to add them here. So let me open up the blanket and I'll show you what it looks like when it's unfolded. Which end is which? I see all that sunlight I got going on today upstairs in my room. Alright, let my camera adjust for a second. Okay, so see, I don't remember what my initial starting chain was on this. I do have notes on the I'm calling it my Caron Cakes leftover blanket. But all these colors. This is the brick red from Cherry Chip. These colors here are from the Rainbow Sprinkles and Rainbow Sherbet, right? This is from their Pumpkin Spice. I love the colors. That purple's probably from Bumbleberry. It's probably from Blueberry Muffin or Blueberry Cheesecake. And then, look at all those. And this is where, okay, so this is what I'm saying. You see these big blocks of color, right? But you see how this yellow here, it only goes up that way. And then it comes back. I got a row and a half out of it. That was it. It was a tiny little ball of yarn. It would have looked really weird if I had left it in my other blankets, you know? And then that's what these are up here. These were all the smaller balls of yarn. And you see how it throws the pattern off a little bit. But when you're making a leftover blanket, that's fine. See? Isn't she gorgeous? Now, hold on. I'm going to sit you guys back down for a minute. Hi again. So when I'm done with the crochet along with you guys, I will have 3 blankets that I don't need or want. Now I do have an Etsy shop. I've only sold like 1 thing in the shop. I get so afraid to list my stuff and sell it because I do get so attached to it, as crocheters and knitters do. We have a tendency to get attached to our stuff. But I'm working through some issues, and I'm working really hard on letting go of all the blankets that I've made. Out of all of these, the only one I would keep would be the leftover blanket because it is absolutely adorable. It is my kind of pattern, using scraps and leftovers and putting them in a simple blanket that's just, my grandma used to do it. Whenever she had little balls of leftover yarn, she would just pile it all up and she would just sit and crochet back and forth with a single crochet, back and forth, no counting. You don't have to pay attention. I mean, you can decide on color placement by all means. I mean, I did that. I made sure that when I put one color next to the other that it was complementary or pretty or pleasing to the eye. I didn't do it just randomly. So yeah, so when I'm done all this, the one blanket I'm going to keep is that leftover blanket. That's the one I'm keeping. So if I did this right, you guys should have seen a clip in the beginning because I did go to Michael's yesterday. On Sunday, after my video went up on Sunday, I did go out and pick up some more yarn because I knew with the 5 cakes of yarn I had, it wasn't going to be enough. So let's give you another look at the 2 colors I did pick up. I love pink. Pink is one of my most favorite colors, and you'll see a lot of times I got pink. I got like 9 different shirts and 9 different shades of pink, right? So I picked up some pink to put in the blanket, and hopefully it's a muted shade of pink. So I got, let me read it without my glasses on, Buttercream. I love the colors of Buttercream, how earth toned they are and how muted that they are. Look at that. That is beautiful. I love this color. I would go out and buy every cake of it if I could. But seriously, my goodness, $9.99 a cake? And I mean, really, you got to shop when they have 50% off, 40% off. I got 20% off yesterday, so I spent $7.99. But if money wasn't an issue, I would buy up every cake I can of this because I'm in love with these colors. They're beautiful. So it's called Buttercream, did I say? Yep, Buttercream. Alright, and since I love to put pink in all my blankets, if I can get away with it, if it makes sense, and I think this pink will, it is called Rhubarb Cream. And while it does have a brighter shade of pink in there, I still think it's muted just enough. And they've got a rose pink, and I love peach. Peach is right up there with pink. As you know what? I love all colors of the rainbow. I really do. I can't even rank them as what's my favorite because I love a good peach too. And some mauve in here. These colors are beautiful, and hopefully the sun is cooperating with us and you can see that properly. These colors. This peach right here, love it. The rose pink, love it. This mauve out here, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Alright, so for our crochet along, video number 1 was an introduction and a story, and it was our starting chain and row 1. And did we do row 2? Did we do row 2 in video 2? Even I'm losing track. And video number 3 is, maybe we did do row 2. But anyway, so you know that the pattern is just a repeat of row 3 and 4, okay? And it repeats up until the end. The last row has to be decreases because we're actually increased our numbers and we have to decrease on that last row. So you guys are going to have to wait another week or 2 for that. So, yesterday's video, I finished with the white truffle and I added in the blueberry muffin. I didn't like that shade of blue that was in there, that royal blue. I did cut that out and I finished with the other blues. Did finish with the other blue, which I like them because they're beautiful. They're they're just beautiful. There's this color here, this tan, beige, brown was part of the blueberry muffin, and this was the end of the white truffle. So then we got 1, 2, 3 shades of blue. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on crocheting this week, so I'm going to already add in my next color. You guys keep right on going. If you are ready for the next color, add in your next color. Just keep going with row 3 and row 4 till you get as much as you want on your blanket, okay? I am adding in red velvet next. I'm going to start with this brick red that's in here. I'm going to take the brick red and put it next to the blue. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do today, and then when I see you guys on Sunday, I will be starting with the buttercream. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to show you how I just tear those cakes apart and wrap them up and separate all the colors. Okay, if you're squeamish about cutting yarn and separating the colors, pause the video, walk away, come back in a few minutes. Now you know I'm just joking, but some people really do not like cutting these cakes, okay? They really don't. Me, I don't have a problem with it. Alright, so this is pistachio that we had started with. I do love the cream. I love the green. So there we go. They are now 2 separate colors, but see how they get they'll get tangled if I don't wrap them up. Do I have a yarn winder? Yes. Yes, I do. Is it in a box? In a bin? In a pile somewhere downstairs? Yes. Yes, it is. So we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. We're going to sit here, and we're going to wrap it up into a ball. Old school. you know, 10, 20 wraps around your 2 fingers, pull it off, right? And go in the other direction, right? And then turn it, go in another direction. And again. Now, when I'm done with this, I will take a picture of the green and the cream, because these are the last 2 colors of pistachio. I will find the ball band, that little band that goes around the cake of yarn that has all the information on it. I'll flip it up so the colors, so I can see the color. And I will take a picture of the yarn label and these 2 colors together to let me know which cake it came from, just so I can remember what's what. Because at my age, things are starting to blur together, and I don't always remember what's what. Okay, I just had to edit something out because I was being stupid and goofy. Let me know how long you guys have been crocheting. That's the question for today. How long have you been crocheting? And then the second question, are you self-taught or did somebody teach you? Okay, so that's the question for today. Leave an answer down in the comments below. Me, let's see. I started crocheting when I was 9 years old. That was in 1980. My grandma took care of most of my lessons. Even though my mom crochets, my mom did not have the patience. And I'm sorry, Mom, for telling everybody that on the internet. She didn't have the patience for it. So my grandma did most of it. My aunt, which is also my mom's sister, and I had a great-grandmother that crocheted, but she passed when I was a teenager. But my grandma did the bulk of my teaching. She taught me how to read a pattern from the magazines and the books and the pamphlets and the leaflets that she had. I did start learning how to read charts and symbols back in the day. So 1980. I've been crocheting for 40 years now. Alright, so there is green from the pistachio. Now I'm going to roll up this creamy color, off-white, whatever you want to call it. It's got little flecks of green in it, which is absolutely beautiful. Wow, see, will the camera pick that up? It's got little flecks of green in it because when they dyed it, it was sitting somewhere near the green. So now it has flecks in it. Okay. So what am I going to call this video? Bonus video? Crochet Along 4.4.2? I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to come up with titles and descriptions. Don't even get me started on thumbnails, because thumbnails are what everybody sees first. I don't always like sticking my face in the thumbnail. Thumbnails are hard. Filming the video is easy. Talking is easy. The description box is alright, but thumbnails, I find thumbnails to be extremely hard to do. Okay, so you know, every time you wrap it 10, 15 times, you just turn your ball a little bit. We should all know how to hand wind a ball. If you can hear the noise in the background, that's my cats running around. They've got the zoomies right now. We have Arlo and Bandit. And they're young for cats. They're 3 and 2 years old, I want to say. Got them at the local SPCA shelter back in 2020. Okay. Alright, almost done. Uh-oh, it tangled on me. My ceiling fan is on and it blows the yarn and it gets tangled on itself. Because I didn't do that. Alright, there we go. So, tuck that little tail in there so it doesn't come undone. Let's find that ball band and take a picture. Okay. Alright, you guys ready? I'm going to move you again. Alright, so there we go. Color is pistachio. Those are the two I have left. I will take a picture with my phone. We'll go like this. See? And then, just so I can remember that they came from the pistachio, one more time. And then another view. Because what I'm going to do is, when I'm done with you guys here, I'm going to, this is the bumbleberry. I'm going to split that up and wind that up. This is the white truffle. This is the blueberry muffin, which is this royal blue. I think will look really well in my leftovers blanket because I think I've already got some royal blue in there. Huh. Neat. So, I posted on Facebook today, and I invited everybody over at Facebook to come join us along in our Crochet Along. So yeah, I want to see what you guys are working on. Go to Facebook, post a picture, and give me permission, and I will let everybody see it. Or send me an email. It's grannysquarepeg@gmail.com. Okay, so that is it for today's video. Sizing, it seems as though my gauge is a little looser this year than it was back in 2017, but that's okay. It's still close enough. And they're really pretty blankets. The Caron Cakes is really, it's an awesome yarn. I'm most excited about my leftovers blanket. It's coming along beautifully. But where I'm at right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until we're done with the Crochet Along before I keep working on my leftovers blanket, because I do want my colors evenly distributed. So I will wait until I have all these leftovers in a baggie so I can put them all so it looks pretty. It looks nice because it's the one blanket I am keeping. Alright, so that is it for today. I think that's enough of me rambling on, right? And yeah, I will see you guys on Sunday when I add in my next cake of yarn. So until then, happy crocheting. Bye. Alright, crafters, one last quick update. So you saw me roll up the leftovers from the pistachio into this green and the cream, okay? Here is what's left over from bumbleberry. 3 different shades of purple. Now, do you see the difference in size from this ball of purple to this? This would only get me a row or 2, okay? While this will give me at least 4 rows in the blanket. And then this is what's left over from the white truffle. These 3 here. And do you see how small that is? I can't even do a chain with that, you know? So by all means, take these cakes and break them up and make them do what you need them to do. Like, this is the blueberry muffin. This was the center of the cake. This would not have been able to start my blanket. I can't get a chain of 170 out of that and then row 1 out of that. It's way too small. And then at the end of the cake, this is the blue that was on the outside. That's not, I'll be lucky if I get a row out of that. Well, these 2 right here will give me, this one will give me at least 3 rows. This one will give me 4 to 5 rows. So by all means, make these cakes do what you want them to do. Alright, so now I'm off my soapbox. I'll see you guys.